A very good morning to you on this third day of December. 22 days to go to one of the high days in the calendar. We are privileged to be on the air with you, and if you've joined us, you're on the fifth connection where we talk you through the storyline of the scriptures. And this morning we are in Ephesians chapter 5 and verse number 26. As a male, have you ever heard it said to you that you must man up? Man up. That is my title for this morning's talk. Husbands are to man up because there is a responsibility to pick up and to take up, which is not for the faint-hearted. And yet we live in a culture of sissified males. Husbands are walking away from their responsibility to their marital partners, the wife of their youth. Our families are coming unglued, 9 times to the dozen. We are in deep trouble. And so as we look at the unfolding story in this section of the text, we said that for the wives have guardrails, and the guardrails for the husbands are the same. In their submission and in their loving one another, there are 4 guardrails. What are those for? You need to understand these sections of Scripture against the backstory, which is the rest of the chapter. Now, that is not pure lip service. It can be, because we think we get people off our backs when we say, the context says, well, show what the context says. The context says from chapter 4, verse number 1 already, that you need to be committed to walk worthy. You need to walk in love. You need to walk in light, and you need to walk in wisdom. 4 guardrails, to put it more simply. The guardrails have to do with living by values, the highest values: gentleness, love, meekness, a posturing of yourself around the unities in this assembly called church. And then the text says, walk in love. In other words, walk with high affordance of choice. Walk in such a way that you are giving others the opportunity to make choices, and to make choices freely, not under coercion. I am not to rule over you in an oppressive kind of way. That's not God's design. Government is there to put mechanisms in place that will curb public misbehavior. The family is there to be the guardrails for behavior in private, in the confines of the home. And if I don't learn it there, I have a very hard time learning it out in the public square. Then I'm to walk in light as an awakened one, as an enlightened one. So wake up, show up, and grow up is how we normally say it. And then the writer starts out by talking what wisdom living is all about, what skillful navigation looks like in life. And now he comes to the big M word, marriage. And he comes, in a sense, to the keeper of the gate, the husband. In the ancient text, we have a concept called Shomrei Adamah. Shomrei Adamah. Shomrei Adamah means guardians of the earth. Human beings are given as guardians of the earth. They are to guard what God has given and to interact with God's creation and interact with nature. Well, now in the home is a battle formation. Remember, this is war talk. From verse 1 of chapter 4, Paul is preparing us for war talk that he's going to go at directly in chapter 6, verse number 10 to 24. But he's preparing the ground and he's talking about the first battle formation. Wives to husbands. Now he's talking about the next battle formation. Husbands to wives. And this kind of stuff you can't just willy-nilly change at whim and switch them around and imbue them with your own definitions. Because ethnicity is sacred. You can't change it. Can you change your ethnicity? Ek is 'n Kaapse kleerling. I can't change that as much as I try. Could dye my skin, bleach my skin. Won't make a difference to what I'm in from a cultural standpoint. And so husbands have a role. It's a gender role. That in this culture, it's being redefined. If we can't even define what a woman is, still less a man. And now he's talking to husbands and he's injecting further war talk because he says to the husband, the way you get into this battle formation and function optimally in this battle formation is by dying into life. D-I-E, die, D-Y-I-N-G, dying into life. The concept of death and resurrection. Becoming egoically severed from that which numbs my performance. In my responsibility that God has called me to, I am a husband, not a has-been, a husband. Husbands, love your wives. In other words, husbands, give affordance of choice to your wives. That's something that for us as males, it's a major learning curve across our lives. We don't get it all in one shot. You didn't get it down the day you said, I do. Because you find more often you saying, I won't, and I don't. I am the head, to which the wife subtly responds. I'm the neck that turns the head. That joke has choked marriages long ago. And some are in their death throes because of being choked to death because of misunderstanding how to function within the context of that relationship. Give your wives the affordance of choice. Allow them to interact with you. Ultimately, you will be the one accountable. Ultimately. But husbands, love your wives. How? Here's the impossible ruler, the impossible measurement against which I measure my love index for my wife. It is Christ. You see, when I put myself next to other guys and other husbands, I may come out looking pretty good. Looking pretty good and thinking, I've got it down. Look at me. Wow, look at me now. But when I put my life next to the divine ruler, who is Christ, oh my goodness. No place to hide. Love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. As the appointed one loves the assembly and sacrificed himself for her. That's the standard. Giving your life away in order to live for her. Oh, there's so many commercial songs that are so eloquent in articulating what love looks like or ought to look like toward a wife. I'm thinking of one song from long ago. I want to live for you, just for you. Give my life to you, just for you. Oh my, and at the altar, it's so easy to say, I do. And then I will face so many situations across my lifetime where that will get challenged. The bedrock of that would be challenged. But when I give my wife high affordance of choice, I've often said, my dear, you can choose. That's your choice. And of course, if she insists, she says, but I want to hear, what do you have to say? Now, that's fine. Now, there are times you will have to make unilateral decisions because ultimately you going to bear the brunt. But it is a complementary relationship. Let's make no bones about that. Now, how does a husband die into marital life? He's going to learn how to let go of that which egoically attaches him to his masculinity. You see, this culture is poking fun at patriarchy and poking fun at masculinity. And females don't realize what they're doing, or maybe they're very strategic, intentional in what they're doing, because they are breaking down the male species. He's an initiator. She's built in such a way to be a responder. I'm quite fascinated by the scientific discoveries of the West. There are 29 of them that I've been tracking because I've been reading Niall Ferguson's book entitled Civilization. And on page 65 and 66, he talks about 29 wonderful scientific discoveries made in the Western world from 1530 to 1789. 29 of them, and they are all wonderfully unique, never to be repeated again. And they are all done by males. Now, you may just say that is accidental, and that's coincidental, because the female species has been the benefactor of what so-called toxic or tyrannical patriarchy has done. They have been the benefactors. They say, no, it's all evil. Patriarchy is evil. So anything patriarchy initiates is devilish and diabolical. And there's such a lot of talk on social platforms about toxic masculinity, and those are subjects now for another day. But for right here, the husband is going to learn very quickly that he needs to learn to die into his marital life. How does he do that? Well, personal, voluntary sacrifice is at the heart of what marital living is all about for husbands. It's personal, it's just for you, and it comes to you custom made. Hear me out now, don't switch off. Custom made. Oh, all of us love brand clothing. Now, maybe you, the exception. Couldn't care about brands. But ladies love designer clothing. They don't like to wear a particular outfit with a wonderful pattern, and they come into somebody's home and they discover that the wife in the home has made a set of curtains out of the same fabric and pattern that she's wearing. That's so humiliating. So don't say designer clothing is not cool. God custom designs what comes at us in the flow of reality. So husbands, here it is. Personal voluntary sacrifice. How? And now Christ is using the church as the template, but he's bouncing between church and husband, showing how that these two have great symmetry. And at times you don't know who he's talking about. Is he talking about church, or is he talking about the male counterpart? And that's how wonderfully God has created marriage to be. And so we're going to talk a little more deeply, not in the traditional way, all in a romantic, icky-feely type situation of how You can romantically love your wife. This, in a sense, is very little to do with that. Because marriage is transactional and love functions irrespective of where that relationship is at. It ought to function. Not because of, not when, but in spite of. And so verse 25 really sets up the husband to hear the hard thing, the challenging thing. And that's what you're going to face today in your marriage. The moment you talk about beefing up your relationship, you will find that the enemy is going to fire the shot at point blank range into your face. You talk about beefing up your marriage. Let's see. And we go into deep challenges in our life, and often we can't handle them because we need the enabling grace of God. Today, you're going to face challenges like that. Decisions, talk between you and your partner, your wife, the wife of your youth. We always used to joke about the way people pronounce youth here in the Cape. They would say ute, the wife of your youth. Wife of your youth. Some of you are married 40 years, some 50 plus. My mom and dad were married 67 years. I just get tired when I hear that. But it's so invigorating to know that you can get to the end of your life with your life and your marriage intact. So as you go through this day, be on a lookout for opportunities to be obeying God in the area of what husbands should be in relation to their wives. I trust that you would enjoy the day as you go with God. Goodbye for now.